Another week. Here we are, Labor Day weekend. Still finding music. It's what we do. And of course, our leadoff man, as the baseball season draws to its final month, is Fred Whitlock, batting first. Fred
And I'm
Whitlock.
very sad the Red Sox aren't doing anything this year.
Oh,
I'm going to dive into something a little bit different. Amazon Prime is running a 3-part documentary on the jazz musician Wayne Shorter. It's called Zero Gravity, and it's an excellent, excellent piece on an incredible artist that is a giant in jazz. It starts out all the way in his early years in the 1930s, has pictures of him as a youth, that him and his brother started becoming budding musicians early on. He listened to the radio a lot and got into an arts school and started picking up the saxophone. The documentary dives deep into his creative life, his personal life, his spiritual life. And there's great interviews with Shorter that are eye-opening, and you start to understand how he sees things and why people are just amazed at the way he looks at life, the way he looks at music. He's constantly composing, working every single day on pieces. He got his big name when he joined Art Blakey's Jazz Messengers. And then it goes into when Miles started phone calling him and saying, "When are you going to join my band?"
mm-hmm.
He was looking for a replacement for John Coltrane, and he wanted Shorter. And finally, a call came when he was rehearsing with Art Blakey, and Blakey got on the phone and told Miles, "If you steal my player, I'll break every bone in your body."
Wow.
But Shorter did leave and joined Miles, and they formed the most incredible quartet of Miles' career. And while he was with Miles, something extraordinary happened. He composed many great tunes for Miles. And usually Miles would change things on people, composers, and he would move things around. He never touched a note in any of Wayne Shorter's compositions. He played it exactly the way Shorter wrote it. And there's great interviews in this with Herbie Hancock, Don Was, many other people, Carlos Santana, Wallace Roney, Sonny Rollins, Joni Mitchell. They all worked with Shorter at one point in his career, especially Herbie Hancock. Herbie Hancock showed up on some of Wayne Shorter's albums early in his career, and they've been tight friends ever since. They're almost like brothers. And you go deep into the mind of Shorter with this documentary, deep into his spiritual connection, how he moves through life and his connection to the universe. In fact, there's one point where he's sitting down with the interviewer and says, "I wonder what happens when you get to the end of the universe." His compositions constantly show great imagination. And it goes not only into his career with Miles, but the second part goes into Weather Report. The third part goes into his last quartet that he had. And it shows just what he did with Weather Report, how they became this super jazz fusion band that took over the rock world. It's an incredible piece of work. His mind was continually working and continually looking for new directions, even as he was 89 years old, being interviewed around 88 years old, 89. He died at 89, just not long after this documentary was filmed. And the film ends on a large scale opera that he had composed, and it's great. It's a great piece of work. And at one point, a musician, they're going out on stage to do some new work, and the piano player, keyboard player says, "Are we going to rehearse?" And Shorter turns around and says, "You don't rehearse the unknown."
Oh,
And
nice.
that's what Shorter
Wow.
always explored. One of his last albums was The High Life, and it's an orchestrated piece of work produced by Marcus Miller. Marcus is on electric bass. It has Rachel Z on synthesizer. I think she wrote some of the tunes with Shorter. His saxophone soars over the band and the orchestrations of horns and strings. It's just, he reworks an old piece called The Children of the Night. Brian Blade is on drums, just pounding a great beat, clear and loud to keep the music swirling. And all the complexity of Shorter's compositions arise on this late recording of his. It's fitting that someone said you should call Wayne Shorter Mysterious Traveler, which was the tune he wrote for Weather Report. And he definitely is a mysterious traveler. Some of the great recordings that he did was in 1959. There's a recording introducing Wayne Shorter. And this is what Art Blakey heard and Miles heard, and they all stood up and listened to this man, this young guy who just played fiercely. Speak No Evil came out in 1966, a great Blue Note recording of his Blue Note years are just tremendous. Anything he did on Blue Note label is incredible. Juju came out in 1965. Adam's Apple came out in 1966. I highly recommend those recordings. In 1969, he did a jazz fusion album under his own name, Supernova. Incredible. In 1974, he got together with Brazilian artists. They rehearsed and then went into the studio and took Brazilian music to a whole new level, a whole different direction. It's called Native Dancer. And in 1997, he did a duet with Herbie Hancock, just he and Herbie Hancock doing some beautiful improvising and gorgeous recording. It came out in 1997. It's called 1+1. And of course, High Life came out in 1995. So I would say, try to get a free week or a free month out of Amazon if you don't have it, and check out this documentary on Wayne Shorter. He definitely is a mysterious traveler and someone you want to take the ride with.
What's the title of the film?
Zero Gravity. Wayne Shorter, Zero Gravity.
Nice.
It's 3 parts, 3 parts. It's really great. Gives you
Sounds good.
goes into all his tragedies in his life and how he got through it all. And it's just simply amazing. It's just, some of it's really heartbreaking, but the man had an incredible life, led an incredible creative life.
Oh, that sounds like an easy sum up. 3 words you got to know. Wayne Shorter, Amazon. Right? Then you can see zero gravity. All right. Thank you, Fred.